Whose life did you unintentionally mess up? Pat, the alcoholic regular at the truck stop I used to work nights at. He used to come in every night for a bottle of Rumpelmans before heading home. He was clearly a drunk but a friendly and good-natured one. One day he stopped coming in and nobody saw him for over a year. Then during my last week on the job he comes in to get gas and I'm so glad to see him that I bought his traditional bottle of booze for him as a gift since I was leaving. 6 months later I learned that he disappeared for that year to cut his ties in the area and move to the West Coast to sober up and get his life together. He had managed to kick the booze and start rebuilding his life when he came back to town to pick up some things from his old home before leaving the area forever. He was on his way out of town toward a new life when I gave him that bottle. He relapsed and died a few months later. Holy shit, dude, that's rough. Don't take it too hard on yourself, you couldn't have seen it coming. Not to sound callous, but I've never felt guilty about it. There's no way I could have known, and I'm sure there were other factors. I do feel sadness though that the world lost a good-hearted man who was struggling with his own demons. A new guy at my old job, Bill, was bragging about his hot new girlfriend Cassie. At our holiday party before we go on leave for 2 weeks, I see him with very pretty blonde just kinda standing around. Since he was new I decided I'd help break the ice, show them around and meet some people. I walk over, introduce myself, say hi to Bill and then say, "And you must be his girlfriend Cassie, he's told us some great things about you." He goes white as a ghost. "No, I'm his wife Rachel." I didn't know what to do, so I made an excuse that I must have mixed them up with another couple, and made my escape. They got divorced a couple months later. Honestly, what did Bill expect? Openly bragging about cheating and then bringing his wife along? No one to blame but himself. When I was like 8 years old I was playing golf with another friend. I went for a swing and ended up splitting his jaw like in 10 parts or so. He now speaks a little bit odd, 15 years later. This exact thing happened to be, but I was the kid who got a club in the jaw. Accidents happen. I hold no hard feelings against the kid. I haven't seen him in years. The one that I'm now trying to unfuck up is my kid's dental health. I spent a few years caring more about pills than I did taking my kids to the dentist or just brushing regularly. Now when I have to take a kid to dentist to repair the cavities and or root canals that I caused them to need, now that I can admit to the damage I did, I feel really bad and admit I fucked up and they're paying for me fucking up their lives even just in this one way. Your accountability is refreshing. Addiction is a dirty beast, and while you may not have made good choices in the past, you're doing the right thing. Onward, friend. I am honestly not sure. I worked for a company that claimed to be helping people. I stupidly believed in it. Turned out they were scamming people out of money. While I doubt I had a direct hand in hurting anyone, the fact that I ever unknowingly worked at such a place still makes me sick to my stomach. I was halfway through selling a Kirby vacuum to a very poor family when this feeling struck me. They were going to take absolutely disgusting interest rates and finance the fucking vacuum, because I had falsely convinced them that they could use the thing to prevent dust mites and stuff in mattresses, and they started talking about how wonderful that would be, because their little girl had a compromised immune system and had so much trouble breathing at night. The hope and desperation in their eyes as they waited to hear from the financing guy. Ugh, some people can just do whatever, if it pays. Not me. I'm a baker now. Dishonest work will eat your soul. It was middle school and we were taking one of those state-based tests. I don't really remember the name, but it was the history portion. Our history teacher wasn't the nicest woman and she wasn't fair, so no one really was that thrilled to be in her class that day. I remember sitting down, carrying my backpack and tossing it to the side. I was in a bad mood and so I just kinda threw it down, not really caring about it. I just wanted to get this test over with and then take a nap, because they made us put our head down when we were done. 20 minutes into the test and I'm blazing through it. I do love history so I had no problem, despite our mean teacher. She was walking along each aisle, checking each person, making sure nobody was cheating. One kid already was yelled at so we were afraid to look up. I saw her shadow approach from the left side, slowly working down the aisle. Afraid to look up, I stared at my paper, but a screen next to me spiked my head up. "How are you?" she wailed as her elderly body went flying, her body landing on the ground with a big WMP. She tripped on my backpack. I looked down in shock. "I can't get up. I can't get up, she wailed on the ground. I was frozen in fear when a teacher's aide ran to her. Aide, go get the principal. Everyone out of the class, she yelled. We all were rushed into the hall. More teachers arrived than the principal. An ambulance came as there was a hospital close by, and then she was taken away. Did you trip the teacher? Noodle tripped the teacher. It spread like wildfire. I was suddenly the kid who tripped the teacher. The next day we had a substitute, and the principal in the class with us as we were about to finish the tests. This is why you are supposed to tuck your backpacks under your desk. Not in the aisles. I never got in trouble for it. It was never pushed to my family. We got a replacement teacher who was actually really cool, and history became a lot more fun again. I learned later our history teacher came back. She had damaged her arm and hip permanently, needing a walker. She was getting medically retired but came to say hello to some old students. I never saw her, but one of my best friends did. The teacher commented on, "It's important to forgive, especially those who have wronged you." She had stared directly at my best friend at this time, knowing she and I were close. The history teacher left the school that day, never to be seen again. Incredibly stupid coworker sent an email to my business account, calling in sick. Unfortunately, I was sick that day, too, and her husband was my stand-in. He read that mail and called a divorce lawyer, because his wife had left the house as usual. When she came home from work, in her lover's bed, her husband had already organized a removal company. So very not sorry. Cheaters deserve the worst. Sounds like she fucked up her own life and got caught. Not your fault at all. My parents. I came from a middle-upper-class family, so my parents paid for everything while I was in college. Housing, tuition, groceries, everything. I had my dad's credit card, and at 20 I started going out to the bar and spending lots of their money. They continued to support me, to pay for everything, and I continued to abuse it for years while ignoring their threats that they would shut off the credit card, which they never did. My dad sent me a heartbreaking email one day that said I'd spent all of his retirement money, and they were struggling to pay the mortgage. It absolutely broke my heart, and I cried just thinking about it. It ruined my relationship with my parents. It's been a few years and I'm making quite a bit of money now. Our relationships are better than they've ever been. At any opportunity one can, I send them money and will continue to do so until they tell me to stop. I will forever be indebted to them for everything they have done for me, and I'll do anything I can to help them live comfortably for the rest of their lives, because that's what they've done for me. To those who grew up in a loving family, don't ever forget how much your parents love you. Don't ever take it for granted like I did. I would say that's more on your parents for not teaching you financial responsibility. Your dad had to be seeing the credit card statement every month. Why did he wait until it was too late to say anything? He didn't necessarily wait. I got texts, emails, phone calls weekly. I just ignored them all because it made me anxious. I definitely did not understand financial responsibility at the time, that's for sure. But I also wasn't a spoiled kid. My parents raised me well. I wasn't one to ever spend money when I was younger, so it didn't turn into an issue until I started going to the bar. My best mates when we were 14-15. He was a typical rich kid whose parents paid for whatever he wanted. He was pretty spoiled, but he also understood you have to work to get things. His dad taught him well. Well, anyway, I got some weed off another guy in school and gave him his first session, and after that we were smoking it all the time. He moved back up north not long after and hit the hard drugs and is now smoking a lot of meth. I know it's not completely my fault, but I can't help but think if I hadn't given him that session he would have never got into the heavier drugs. Most teenagers experiment with drugs. It was potentially inevitable and 100% not your doing. According to my ex-wife, I single-handedly ruined her life. Seems to me that if you have a lesbian affair, then empty the bank accounts before filing for divorce, and my lawyer gets the courts to make you pay me a lot of money, you may have some responsibility in your own demise. A friend of mine in high school. We were taking a statewide exam on European history, and the second part required writing 3 essays, 1 in response to a series of documents, and 2 extended response essays based on given prompts. All 24 of us took the exam in a large auditorium with nothing separating people, and yet you obviously were barred from talking, sharing answers, discussing questions, etc. general test stuff. Anyway, essay section starts and my friend next to me starts motioning to me on the side of the table with his hand. First he holds up 2 fingers, then 3, then 2, then 3, repeated a few times. Now I have no idea what this means. Literally zero. Zilch. Nada. And I'm terrified that we're going to get accused of collaborating and have our results nullified. So, I just flash him a peace sign. 2 fingers. He nods and begins writing. Crisis averted? After the exam I ask him, what was the point of the finger gestures? And he responds, oh, I was asking how many essays we had to write. Thanks for the help. Needless to say, he did very, very poorly on that exam. Fucked up his life. Nah, no way, he went to a good school, graduated high in his class, etc. But I definitely fucked up that class for him, and the guilt of it has been looming over me for years. Shouldn't the number of essays that must be written be mentioned at the beginning of the test? Yes, and it was. And our teacher at the time also stressed how many we had to write to talk about time concerns and whatnot. My friend had all the tools to not fail, and in spite of that he still managed to. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.